days.
Welcome back to Focus on Africa. They panicked. These are the sharp words from Uganda's president aimed at his own soldiers that may still be ringing in their ears. Last week, hundreds of Al-Shabaab militants stormed Uganda's African Union mission base in Somalia, killing 54 Ugandan soldiers, including a commander. Now, this was one of the deadliest raids on the African Union peacekeeping bases in recent months. Yoweri Museveni has since softened his position, praising the troops for their remarkable resilience. Ugandan soldiers have been in Somalia since March 2007. Troops there have come under attack several times, as well as last week, there was an assault in May this year. Across Somalia, there are some 20,000 troops under the current African Union peacekeeping mission. As well as Uganda, there are soldiers from Burundi, Djibouti, Ethiopia, and Kenya. The US also has military personnel across Somalia. Now, Uganda has one of the largest contingents with the African Union Peacekeeping Mission, or ATMIS. But what do Ugandans make of their troops in Somalia? Let's now get more from Wilfred Nasongo, who's a resident fellow on foreign policy and security from the Global Center for Policy and Strategy. Thanks for making time for Focus on Africa, Wilfred. And I just want to understand where Ugandans see this. Are they in support of their troops' deployment in Somalia?
Thank you very much for focusing on Africa. I would say this, that, there's something they call foreign internal defense. All these states that have sent their troops, the troop contributing countries, they're doing it for the purposes of security at home. Mm-hmm. If you can remember very well, Uganda, Kampala, attacks, and Kenya, there was bombing that was leveled against Al-Shabaab. But I can say this very fast, that maybe you may think that Ugandans feel they have been let down, but I would say that everybody feels he has been let down. The president feels that he has been let down. The parents of those soldiers, I think actually is the pressure that has made the president to retract. The soldiers themselves, the terrain within which they are operating, the doctrine and whatever, the support from around there, let them down.
And obviously the question I'm sure many of our viewers are asking is, does this attack then expose the vulnerability of ATMIS forces in Somalia?
We may say that it does so to some level, but it's not a new thing. Remember, ATMIS is a transition mission, picking on from AMISOM, the African Union mission. And if we look at from 2015 should be said that it was the worst time. We had 2 attacks on Burundi soldiers, 54 again. And then even the Ugandans themselves were attacked, I think 19. Then the worst 2016, you remember Al-Ade, the Kenyans, over 100. So we can say that not so much I'm an Afro-optimist, and I would say that the path that the African Union has covered through its own peace support operations up to the transition mission is greater than the negative parts that we can look at. But then still, you are right, you have observed that correctly, that it has totally exposed at this time when we are thinking that we should be now scaling down. I think even the transition plan is that by December this year, 2000, should have been degraded or left. And then we are looking at a mission up to 2024, and then we exit. So yes.
Yes. So what can be done? Because some are looking at scenarios such as, should ATMIS forces exit, would the Somalian National Army have the capacity to fill the gap?
On Somalian National Army, I can say no. They do not have the capacity. One, what's the reason? One, we have multiple doctrines being fed to them. This is called the security sector reform. You'll find UAE there training, Somalian National Army. You'll find even the US has a hand there. You find the African states, Uganda itself. So what doctrine are they running as a military group? So again, if you can observe very well, the Somali National Army is one of the most infiltrated by the Al-Shabaab. So at this time, the joy of everything is that as we feel discouraged at what will happen, there'll be a hiatus if ATMIS leaves, is that the frontline states will be deployed.
Will be deployed.
That is
so let me ask you this and tell me this briefly. How can security and stability be achieved with what we now know?
Yes, in Somalia, what they need to do is around 4 or 3 things. That one of them is we learn the lessons that we have gotten from the tactics of Al-Shabaab, that those small, we call them force operating bases, detached and maybe taking care of small areas, should have surveillance, multiple operations from maybe helicopters and the rest.
Okay, and
then
the other
second
2 points? Yes.
The second point is we fix the politics in Somalia. And to fix this as 2 avenues. That one is a regional politics. Even as we look at the frontline states, we're seeing regional and even extra-regional politics driving Somalia as it does.
Okay.
But the second fix of politics is negotiation. We are looking at mediation. The world over, the base of peace now is mediation. Even the US did that.
And I'll stop you there, Wilfred Nasongo. Thank you so much.